His undermanned army scuttled in, sniping at the regiments of British under General Cornwallis, and then scuttled away again.
We fight, get beat, rise, and fight again.
Cornwallis won battles, but he was not winning the war. By August of 1781, he had moved his army north to Yorktown, Virginia, where he planned to wait for supplies and reinforcements. Instead, he found himself surrounded on land by American and French troops and blockaded at sea by the French Navy. Cornwallis held out for 3 weeks, but his situation was hopeless. So, on October 17, 1781, exactly 4 years after Burgoyne's surrender at Saratoga, Cornwallis raised the white flag. 2 days later, a document was signed by generals on both sides, formalizing the Yorktown surrender.
It was as if some great hand of destiny demanded that it all come back to where it had begun. Because there at Jamestown, the British had stepped onto the continent in 1607. And now, only 15 miles away, the British will step off of the continent. Little wonder that some Americans would later feel that destiny had a particular interest in the United States. One of the British officers wrote back to England and said the British Army is like an iron hammer. Now, the iron hammer seems so strong, but if you throw that hammer as hard as you can into a silo of shucked corn, it bends a couple kernels out of shape. But the hammer sinks down in that shucked corn, and it's soon surrounded, and you never see it again. They could hold New York City, or Newport, or Wilmington, or Charleston. But if they went in the interior ended up holding them. Another, I think, key reason they lost the war is the French and then the Spanish made it a world war. And it became, from a military aspect, infinitely harder. And lastly, their leadership was not good. It was uncoordinated. It was lethargic. They were simply too confident. And so I think it's also a case of overconfidence, British pride, British hubris. Now, as to why we won. One, French aid. I think it was very, very important. Secondly, the American ideology. Again, we had much more to win and much more to lose in this war than the average British soldier. And I think the role played by George Washington. I think Washington, again, was that glue that held the Continental Army together. And as long as the Continental Army held together, Britain could not win the war.